Hello, fourth grade, and welcome to Unit 6, Week 4. We're going to begin with our vocabulary. Our first word is the word currency. So the money that is used by a country or a place is called its currency. Over here in the United States, we use dollars. In Mexico, they use pesos. In Europe, they use euros, and so on. Our next word is the word economics. Economics is how people use their resources to make different goods or services. It's also when you're studying economics, you're studying how people are using money or using goods or services or making those goods or services to support the economy. Next, we have the word global. Something that is global means it's around the globe, so it's worldwide. Our next word is the word invest. When you invest in something, you're putting money into it. So you may invest in a project that someone is starting to build a new library in your community. So you're donating money to that project. Next, we have the word marketplace. A marketplace is a place that you buy and sell things at. So any market is a marketplace. It's where things are bought and sold. Next, we have the word transaction. A transaction is a sale or some kind of a business deal. So when you go and you buy an ice cream at the grocery store, you buy an ice cream cone, you just performed a transaction, right? You gave them money and they gave you the ice cream. If you go to a toy store and you buy a new toy or a video game, once you buy it, once you're making a payment for it and they give it to you, that's a transaction. Next, we have the word entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is a person who starts or runs a business. So if you have your own business or you're in charge of a business, you're an entrepreneur. And our last word is the word merchandise. Merchandise is basically a fancy word for saying things that you can buy or sell. So merchandise is stuff. It can be clothes, it can be games, it can be shoes, it could be toys. Anything that can be bought and sold is merchandise. Now, our spelling words this week are going to focus on suffixes, and we've done a lot of work with these. So you're going to recognize all of these right away. We have the words wireless, sunny, furry, really, hairy, barely, tasteless, handful, lifeless, fitness, hopefully, happiness, fullness, sorrowful, gently, sickness, joyfully, aimless, breathless, certainly, disappoint, non-fat, misnumber, superbly, and successfully. So one of the things we're going to focus on this week for our ELA and grammar, since we've already gotten pretty familiar with suffixes, are things called proverbs and adages. So proverbs and adages are figures of speech or sayings that we find in literature, so different things that we read, and in conversation. They're sayings that come from a specific culture that people believe to be true and that can give advice. So a lot of times, these terms, proverbs and adages, are used interchangeably. That means they're usually used to describe the same thing, even though there are some very slight differences between what a proverb is and what an adage is. But because they're so close, people use either word to describe this. So I'm going to read you a short example so that you can see what's being used in here. When Nina was preparing to visit her cousin, Grandma told her to be careful because fish and visitors stink in 3 days. Nina told Grandma not to worry. She already packed her soap and deodorant. Grandma laughed and told Nina that what she said is an adage, which means that just like fish get smelly after 3 days, people can also get tired of having visitors for more than 3 days. So this adage, fish and visitors stink in 3 days, is another way of saying, not to overstay your welcome. When you go to visit somebody, don't stay for a very long time because those people can get tired of having guests for that long. So Grandma's saying in this short story is an adage. An adage is a saying that expresses or shares an idea that a lot of people agree about. They can be based in facts, or they can come from a particular situation or a job that someone does. You may hear people using an expression or a saying that doesn't really directly tie into what their conversation is about. It could just be a saying, a lot of times this would be an adage. So if you say the grass is always greener on the other side, that means people are thinking that what others have, what someone else has, is always better than what they have. Or if you've heard the saying, the early bird gets the worm, that means the person who arrives first is usually the person who's most successful, right? They have the most time to become successful. Or if you've heard the saying, every cloud has a silver lining, that means that you can find something good in every or any difficult situation. So these are saying that people will use, they'll throw them into a conversation. It doesn't necessarily, you don't need to be talking about birds and worms to use the adage, the early bird gets the worm. Now, proverbs are like adages, but the main difference between them is that a proverb gives advice. Okay, so an adage is a saying with a meaning that most people agree on. A proverb is a saying with a meaning that most people agree on, but it also gives you advice. So if you know the original context or where that proverb came from, it's easier to figure out what that proverb means. So if you say, don't judge a book by its cover to somebody, you're asking them not to judge or form an opinion about someone or something just from looking at that thing on the outside. So they're telling you to get to know it better or get to know that person better before you decide what you think about them. The proverb, an apple a day keeps a doctor away. That means that's referring to making healthy food choices. So when you're keeping your body healthy and you're putting good food in it that gives it good energy, you're not letting your body get sick. So that means you don't need to visit a doctor. You're not going to become ill very soon. And another example of a proverb is always put your best foot forward. So we're not actually talking about your feet here, but we're saying always do your best or show your best. Now, where do these come from? A lot of them come from either really old writings or pieces of literature, like Aesop, who wrote the fable or the story about the tortoise and the hare. So another one is slow and steady wins the race, right? That's an adage that comes from the story of the tortoise and the hare. It's a story about a race between a tortoise or a turtle and a rabbit. And the rabbit is very confident because he knows he's fast, so he keeps stopping. But the turtle keeps going, even though he's moving slowly. He's making progress. And at the end of it, he ends up being the one that wins the race because he didn't stop. So slow and steady wins the race comes from that old story. And it means that, if you're being consistent, if you keep trying, you're going to become successful. Now, some of the Greek and Latin roots that you're going to come across in your work this week are the words the root port, which means to carry. So if you transport something, you're moving it from one place to another. Something that is portable is something that can be moved easily. So like a laptop is portable, a cell phone is portable, usually something that's small and easy to move around. The roots vis or vid both mean to see. So vision is your ability to see. A video is something that is recorded that you can watch or see. Something that's visible can be seen. The roots log, logo, or logi all mean something that's related to a word, a topic, or a speech. So a dialogue is a conversation. So it's the words you're exchanging with another person when you're talking to them. An apology is you expressing regret with your words when you feel bad for doing something. Biology is a study about the topic of life and living things. A eulogy is a speech that people will give at someone's funeral. And our last one that we're going to talk about is aster or astra, which relates to stars, planets, any other bodies or things found in outer space. So astronomy is a study of the stars and planets. An asteroid is a small rocky object that orbits the sun. An astronaut is a person that's trained to travel to outer space. Next, we're going to review prepositions and prepositional phrases. So remember, a preposition is a word that shows the relationship between a word in the sentence and the object of that preposition. So it's relating the different parts of the sentence to each other. Now, the object of a preposition is the noun or the pronoun that comes after that preposition. So think about the word itself. It is prepositioned. positioned. Pre means before. Positioned means where you can find it. So it's placed before that object or that noun that it's talking about. So the preposition relates the object to something in the sentence. Prepositions are usually not alone, so it makes sense to learn about prepositions in their phrases. So some of the common prepositions that you're going to see are the words in, on, at, under, over, to, from, for, with, by, of, into, before, after, and during. These are just some of them. There are lots of prepositions. So I'm going to give you examples of a few sentences using some of these prepositions, not all of them because there's so many, but you'll get the general idea. So if I say, the flower in the vase is a peony. In is showing the relationship between the flower and that vase. Where is that flower? It is in the vase. If I say the umbrella with the polka dots is Marianne's, with is showing the relationship between that umbrella and the polka dots. So the umbrella that has those polka dots belongs to Marianne. We will be going to the movies. To is showing the relationship between where we're going, and it tells us that we're going to the movies. My lunch period is after science. So after shows a relationship between when we have lunch and science class. And on, in our last sentence, you are walking on your tiptoes. It shows how you're walking and it's telling us that we're walking on our tiptoes. It's relating those. So in these examples, the objects of the preposition or the prepositional phrases are the nouns in those prepositional phrases. So I have the prepositional phrase in bold. So the preposition is that first word. So in the first sentence, in is the preposition. Vase is the noun or the pronoun that it's talking about. So in the vase is my prepositional phrase. With the polka dots is my prepositional phrase. With is the preposition. Polka dots is the noun that it's talking about. So all those words together make up my prepositional phrase. To the movies, right? The object of my preposition is movies. Where are we going to where? To the movies. After science, preposition, and then object. On your tiptoes. So on is my preposition, tiptoes is the noun. The preposition and all the words in between until you get to that noun or pronoun are your prepositional phrase. So to find the object of your preposition, if you're not sure how to find the object or the noun or pronoun that your preposition is referring to, ask what. The flower in the vase is a peony. So you found the word in. In is your preposition. In what? So your answer is in the vase. So a prepositional phrase, again, is the preposition, the object of the preposition, and all of the words in between those. So in the vase, with the polka dots, to the movies, after science, on your tiptoes. So if the object of your preposition is a pronoun, another important thing that you need to remember is it needs to be in the object form of a pronoun. So you would say with me, not with I. So your object pronouns are me, you, him, her, it, us, them. So you don't say with she or with he. We say with him or with her, for example. So remember, the subject pronouns are he, she, I, and so on. We don't want to use those when we use a preposition. We use the object pronouns instead, because the prepositional phrase is usually coming towards the end. We're not talking about subjects, we're talking about objects. So some more prepositional phrases I have for you here in this fun, colorful graphic. And next thing we're going to talk about are something called infinitives. An infinitive is the very, very base, simple form of a word. So when we're talking about infinitives, we're talking usually about the present infinitive, which is the most common. And more specifically, something that's called the to infinitive. So how do we make a to infinitive? That's easy. You just add the word to the base verb. So to sit, to make, to eat, to have, to remember. So you're looking at these verbs and they are the most basic form of this word. They don't have suffixes, they don't have prefixes, they're not modified. It's the simplest form of the word. So to sit, to make, to eat, and so on. And the last thing we're going to review are quotation marks. So this is the thing we've talked about a few times. Remember, quotation marks are little symbols that look like little commas, but they're towards the top. And they basically hug the speaker's words. So they come at the beginning and the end of the speaker's words. Whenever you have a quotation mark, the first word inside the quote, no matter where it is in a sentence, begins with a capital letter. The punctuation at the end of the speaker's words is always also inside the quotation marks. So they look like two small little commas that go around the words. They hold in the words that the speaker says, plus the punctuation that goes at the end of what the speaker says, even if that punctuation is just a comma. So if I say, where are my shoes, comes to ask. So I open my quotation marks. They look like two upside down commas when we open them. I begin with a capital letter. Where are my shoes? Question mark. Then I close my quotation marks. Now they look upside down. Now they look like two regular little commas. So before they look like two of the number 6. At the end, they look almost like two of the number 9. So you can see that every time we open a quotation mark, the first letter of that first word inside is a capital letter, even if it's towards the middle of a sentence. The end punctuation is always inside the quotation mark as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at your reading for this week. We're going to look at our reading and writing, our literature anthology first, and then we will go into our reading and writing workshop. We're going to be talking about economics. This is an expository text, so that means it's going to give us facts and information. We're going to see pictures and diagrams. We'll read captions. So let's go ahead and get started with this reading, and it's called The Big Picture of Economics.
Genre: Expository Text. The Big Picture of Economics by David A. Adler. Essential question: what has been the role of money over time? Read how many of our everyday choices are determined by economics. Money matters. What is economics? It's the study of how people decide what to make and sell. It's also the study of why people buy some things and not others, and of how items reach the marketplace, the place where people shop. The marketplace might be a corner grocery store, a large shopping mall, or a site on the internet. Now, put your hand in your pocket and take out a nickel, a quarter, or a dollar bill. It may be difficult to imagine, but there was a time before there was money. There was a time before people studied economics. Thousands of years ago, there was no money. People were self-sufficient. So they gathered and hunted for whatever food they needed, made their own tools, and built their own homes. Some people were good hunters, and others were better at making baskets and clubs, so people traded. A hunter might trade an animal skin for some berries. But how many berries is an animal skin worth? And what would the hunter do with all those berries? People needed money, something that everyone would be willing to take in a trade, and that could also be used to get the things they needed. People found that precious metals, such as gold and silver, made good money. Pieces of gold and silver came in all sizes, and you could weigh a piece to know how much it was worth. Then coins were made. Coins didn't have to be weighed, because people knew each coin's weight and how much it was worth. A pocketful of coins is heavy, so paper money was invented. The first paper money was a printed promise that could be exchanged for gold or silver coins. Today, few countries make gold and silver coins, but paper money has value because you can use it to buy gold or silver. You can use it to buy bread, shoes, and other things too. This ancient Chinese note is from the Ming Dynasty in the 14th century. Stop and check. Ask and answer questions. Why do people exchange money instead of berries or animal skin? You can learn a lot about economics at a restaurant. In a restaurant, you'll see a menu with lots of things for sale. Each item has a price, which helps you decide what to buy. You may not be sure whether you want a hamburger or a tuna sandwich. If you're really not sure, you might buy the one that costs less. Of course, the greater the difference in the prices, the greater the chance you'll buy what's cheaper. If a hamburger costs $1 and a tuna sandwich costs $10, it's likely you'll buy the hamburger. Price might even convince people to buy something they didn't really want. Suppose you are in a restaurant and you are hungry for a tuna sandwich. You see the prices on the menu and realize that if you buy a hamburger instead of a tuna sandwich, you'll have money left to buy a salad and pudding. Price might convince you to buy a hamburger instead of a tuna sandwich. Menu: tuna sandwich $5.50, hamburger $2.50, salad $1, pudding $1. Now suppose you are walking past a restaurant. You aren't really hungry, but you see a sign in the window that says a hamburger costs just $1. At that price, you might decide to buy one. Of course, a high price would have the opposite effect. It might convince you not to buy something you really want. Suppose you are in a restaurant and you're really hungry for a tuna sandwich. You see that a tuna sandwich costs $10, and you really want a tuna sandwich and not a hamburger. At $10 for a tuna sandwich, you might decide to leave the restaurant and go to a grocery store where you can buy a can of tuna fish and some bread and make your own sandwich. Stop and check. Ask and answer questions. How do the prices of the things we want affect the decisions we make? Price might help someone decide what to make and sell. Suppose you and your friends are walking through town and are suddenly thirsty. You search and find there's a scarcity of places in your neighborhood to buy a drink. Scarcity leads to opportunity, and you decide to start your own business, to become an entrepreneur. You will set up a table in front of your house and sell drinks. Now you must decide what to: hot tea or ice-cold lemonade. It's a hot summer day, and lots of people would be willing to pay $1 for a small cup of cold lemonade. Few people would be willing to pay even a dime for a cup of hot tea. You'll probably decide it's to your benefit to make and sell lemonade. It's to your benefit to make what people are anxious to buy. Before you set up your business, you'll have to invest in lemons, sugar, and paper cups. You'll have to spend money even before your very first transaction, your very first sale. You'll spend time making the drinks, and that time is a cost too. It's your opportunity cost. During the time you're making lemonade, you've lost the opportunity to be doing something else. The lemonade you make is your merchandise. It's your supply. The people who come to buy it are the demand. Entrepreneur, transaction, merchandise. The laws of supply and demand. According to one old proverb, the worth of a thing is what it will bring. The value of your merchandise is determined by how much you can get for it on the open market, and that is determined by the laws of supply and demand. If you expect lots of thirsty people to pass your lemonade stand, you might make lots of lemonade, and if you did, you'd have lots of supply. If few people come by, you would have very little demand. What would you do? You might be anxious to sell the drinks and decide to lower the price. Lowering the price will probably increase the demand. Few people might be willing to pay $2 for a cup of lemonade. More people might buy some for just $1 a cup. and lots of people might buy lemonade at just 50 cents a cup. The lower the price, the greater the demand will be. And if the price of your lemonade is low enough, someone who planned to buy only 1 cup might buy a second and even a third cup. Someone who isn't even thirsty might buy a drink. The lower the price of your merchandise, the greater the demand. If you only bought a few lemons and made just a small pitcher of lemonade, you would have very little supply. What if there's lots of demand? Lots of people who are thirsty and want to buy a drink. Perhaps at $1 a cup, you could quickly sell all the drinks, but you might want to raise the price. At $2 a cup, your supply won't sell as quickly, but you'll make much more money on each cup you sell. In a country with a free market, such as the United States, people can charge whatever they want for the things they sell. In a free market, as supply goes up, prices go down, and as supply goes down, prices go up. In a free market, as demand goes up, prices go up, and as demand goes down, prices go down. Those are the laws of supply and demand. What's the best price for lemonade? The best price is low enough for people to want to buy some, and high enough for you and perhaps others to want to make and sell it. The higher the price of your merchandise, the lower the demand. Lemonade sales. Number of cups sold per day. Price per cup. The global marketplace. In the United States, people in one state buy products made in other states, even in other countries. And we sell things to people in other states and countries. The world we live in is truly a global marketplace. The pen you use to write your homework may have been made in China, and the sneakers you wear to school every day may have been made in Japan. The peach you ate for lunch may have been grown in Brazil. Foreign trade is the exchange of goods and services between people here and in other countries. Of course, when we sell our products to people in other countries, we might not be paid in dollars. In the United States, we use dollars and cents to buy things, but people in other countries use different currency, different money. In Mexico, people use pesos and centavos. In Europe, they use euros. In Russia, they use rubles and kopecks. In China, yuan. In Brazil, reals and centavos. In Japan, yen. And in India, rupees. Because we live in a global marketplace, the things we eat, wear, and use may come from many different places. Pen, peach, sneakers. It is said that money is power. This tells us a lot about our global marketplace. Around the world, the richest countries are also the most powerful. But how did they get this way? The answer is economics. Understanding how our global marketplace works explains why so many people study economics. Economics helps us understand how people live, how they sell, buy, and trade things, how they decide what to grow on their land, and what to produce in their factories. Many of the things we, our families, and our friends do, from buying a hamburger to taking a vacation to trading video games, are determined by economics. Many of the choices you make today and in the future, even what to buy in a restaurant, will be determined by economics. Countries with highest GDP, 2010, trillions of dollars. USA, China, Japan, India, Germany. The overall value of a country's total goods and services is its GDP, or gross domestic product. It is usually calculated annually. Genre, folktale. Compare texts. Read how a poor miller becomes wealthy. The Miller's Good Luck. Libor and Vidal, two wealthy friends, had an ongoing argument. Did wealth come mainly from good luck or hard work? Luck is most important, declared Libor. He had become a wealthy entrepreneur after winning money in a contest. No, work hard and plan ahead. That's the way to wealth, Vidal replied. No pain, no gain is what I always say. He had toiled, saved, and invested wisely, and now owned a vast farm. The friends decided to test their beliefs. One day, on the way to the marketplace to sell merchandise, they encountered Pedro, a poor miller who barely earned enough money grinding grain to feed his family. They gave Pedro 100 pesos to use as he pleased. Pedro immediately bought meat for his family, but on his way home, a hawk swooped down to steal the meat. Pedro clutched the food, and the hawk flew off with a bag containing the remainder of the money. 2 weeks later, the men visited Pedro's mill and refused to believe what had happened. Libor handed Pedro a heavy piece of lead. Laughing cruelly, he said, "Here, take this worthless lead weight. No one will steal it." Discouraged, Pedro gave the lead weight to a fisherman, who in exchange gave Pedro the first fish he caught. When Pedro's wife cut open the fish to clean it, she found a diamond in its stomach, which Pedro sold for a large sum. He used the money to expand his mill. Working harder than ever, he soon found himself milling grain for all the farmers in the area. 1 year later, Libor and Vidal saw how prosperous Pedro had become. When the miller told them about the diamond, Libor nodded. "You became wealthy through luck." "But if I hadn't worked every day from dawn until dusk, I could have lost everything," said Pedro. Vidal nodded. Yes, wealth results from hard work and planning. In the end, the two men could never agree about the true key to wealth. Make connections. How does Pedro become wealthy? Why does money matter?
All right, that takes us to the end of our literature anthology reading. We're going to go ahead and jump into our reading and writing workshop. And here we're going to read an expository text entitled The History of Money.
Genre: expository. The History of Money, a painting of a commercial center in Beijing, China in 1840. Essential question: what has been the role of money over time? Read about the history of money. What makes money valuable? If you think about it, a dollar bill is only a piece of paper. You cannot eat, wear, or live in a dollar bill. So why do people want it? Think about the proverb, "Money doesn't grow on trees." Money is considered valuable because it is hard to get. Bartering. Imagine you're a goat herder visiting a marketplace in China in 1200 BC. The merchandise being sold around you ranges from cattle to tools. Suppose you need to purchase a piece of rope. How will you pay for it? The goats you own are your sole source of income, so you would not want to trade a goat for the rope. The goat is too valuable. Instead, you might trade goat milk for the rope. This system of economics is called bartering. But what if the rope merchant does not want goat milk? Early currency. No need to cry over spilt milk. Luckily, you sold some goat milk earlier in the day in exchange for 10 cowrie shells, the first system of currency in China. You hand 2 cowrie shells to the rope merchant and put the rest in your pocket. This is a much easier way to buy and sell things. Cowrie shells are lightweight, durable, and easier to take with you than a goat. The idea of currency is catching on around the world in Thailand, India, and Africa. You decide to save your extra shells until you have enough to invest in another goat. You will be spending cowries with the expectation that another goat will pay off later, since you can drink or sell the milk it produces. Taking this type of business risk makes you an entrepreneur. New kinds of currency. If you were at a marketplace in Rome around 900 BC, you might have used salt as a form of currency. The idiom, to be worth one's salt, is still used today. Another form of currency, metal coins, first emerged in China around 1000 BC. Coins varied in shape, size, and worth. By the 7th century BC, coins made of precious metals such as silver and gold became popular in Europe and the Middle East. These coins were usually round. After being weighed on a scale to determine their value, coins were stamped with designs that stated their worth. Glossary of money terms. Bartering. Bartering. Trading by exchanging food, services, or goods instead of using money. Currency. Currency. Any form of money that is used in a country. Economy. Economy. A system or method of managing the production and distribution of money, goods, and services. Marketplace. Marketplace. A place where food and goods are bought and sold, or the world of business, trade, and economics. This painting shows a scene from a typical 19th century Italian market. Paper money. Carrying a bag of coins can be heavy. The weight of coins and a metal shortage are two reasons the use of paper money developed in China in the 10th century. The earliest European paper money appeared in Sweden at the beginning of the 17th century. Italy started to use paper money about 90 years later. Paper money originally represented the gold or silver a person had in the bank. Today, we can tell the value of paper money by reading the numbers printed on it. Modern money. In today's global economy, exchanging money electronically is common. Many people use a credit or debit card to make a digital transaction. Numbers on a computer screen represent dollars and cents, but no actual paper money is exchanged. As easy as it is to spend money today, saving money is important. When considering spending money, think of the famous proverb, "A penny saved is a penny earned." Make connections. Why did using currency replace bartering? How does money affect your daily life? Ask and answer questions. When you read informational text, you can ask questions before, during, and after reading to help you understand the text and remember the information. As you read the history of money, look for answers to your questions. Find text evidence. You may ask yourself why paper money was an improvement over coins. Reread the section Paper Money on page 427 of the History of Money to find the answer. Paper money. Carrying a bag of coins can be heavy. The weight of coins and a metal shortage are two reasons the use of paper money developed in China in the 10th century. The earliest European paper money appeared in Sweden at the beginning of the 17th century. Italy started to use paper money about 90 years later. Paper money originally represented the gold or silver a person had in the bank. Today, we can tell the value of paper money by reading the numbers printed on it. I see from rereading this section that coins can be very heavy. From this text evidence, I can infer that paper money was an improvement because it is lighter and easier to carry. Main idea and key details. The main idea is the most important idea or point that an author makes in a paragraph or section of text. Key details give important information to support the main idea. Find text evidence. When I reread New Kinds of Currency on page 426 of The History of Money, first I can look closely to find the key details. Next, I can think about what they have in common. Then I can figure out the main idea of the section. Graphic organizer. Main idea. The first metal coins varied in shape, size, and worth. Detail. Coins were made of precious metals such as silver and gold. Detail. Coins were usually round. Detail. Coins were stamped with designs that stated their worth. Caption. All the key details tell about the main idea. Expository text. The History of Money is an expository text. Expository text explains facts and information about a topic. Includes text features. Find text evidence. I can tell the History of Money is an expository text. It gives me facts and information about the kinds of money that have been used throughout history. It includes a variety of text features. Text features. Headings. Headings explain what kind of information is in each section of the text. Glossary. A glossary defines words that are important to the topic of the selection. It lists the words in alphabetical order. Proverbs and Adages. Proverbs and adages are short sayings that have been used for a long time. They usually express a general truth or observation. Every culture has them. Look for context clues to help you figure out the meanings of proverbs and adages. Find text evidence. When I reread Modern Money on page 427 of The History of Money, I see the proverb, "A penny saved is a penny earned." The previous sentence helps me to figure out what the proverb means. As easy as it is to spend money today, saving money is important. When considering spending money, think of the famous proverb, "A penny saved is a penny earned."
All right, that takes us to the end of our notes for this week. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have an amazing day. Take care. Bye-bye.